Second grade Geometry Standard A3. Partition circles and rectangles into 2, 3, and 4 equal shares using the words halves, thirds, half of, a third of, etc., and describe the whole as 2 halves, 3 thirds, 4 fourths. Recognize that equal shapes of identical wholes need not have the same shape. There are 3 parts to this standard. The first part, students need to be able to cut circles and rectangles into 2, 3, or 4 equal parts. They need to be able to use the words halves, thirds, fourths, a fourth of when describing these fractions. And they also need to recognize that equal shares of identical wholes need not have the same shape. In other words, you can cut fractions in different ways. If you have all the pieces of a whole, then you have a whole, as you can see in this example. 2 halves of a circle would be 2 out of 2. It is still a whole circle. 4 fourths of a circle is 4 out of 4. It is still a whole circle. Even though it is cut, we're not missing any pieces. Now, if we take away half the circle, we're left with 1 half of the circle, which is 1 over 2. And if we take away 3 fourths of the circle, we're left with 1 fourth of the circle, which is 1 out of a possible 4 parts. Here's an example of a whole rectangle. Here are 2 halves of a rectangle, which is 2 out of 2. And here's another way of showing 2 halves of a rectangle. Equal shares of the same whole do not have to have the same shape. In other words, as you can see from the rectangles at the bottom, the rectangles are the same size. They are cut into 4 equal parts, but in different ways. So even though a fourth on the left rectangle is different from a fourth on the right rectangle, they are still 1 fourth of the rectangle and still represent the same amount.